Hey guys, this is Camfrey15. I'm back at it with another review for you guys, and I'm back at it with some more My Hero Academia Season 5 episode reviews. Um, if you saw last week's episode review, obviously I was joined by my co-host, the Red Wolf, this week because this weekend was actually um Easter weekend. He went to Mexico to celebrate Easter out there with his family and stuff like that. Things like that. So hopefully people's Easter Sundays is going to be a good one. I know for me it's going to be good because I'm actually going to an Angels game. So yeah, but anyways, getting back on topic. He'll be back next week to talk more My Hero Academia with us. So I'll get his thoughts next week. And yeah, anyways, this is My Hero Academia Season 5, Episode 2. Obviously coming off the anime filler episode of last week. We essentially here get, what happened after, some stuff, some tie-ups after Season 4. We get an extended scene based off of the ending of Season 4 related to Deku. And we dive into the Todoroki family drama here. Well, for obviously the anime, side of My Hero. Now, we all know at the end of the Endeavor all high-end Nomu fight, essentially we see Dabi walk up like we saw last week, and he essentially surrounds Hawks and Endeavor in a ring of fire, and it looks like he's about to start fighting. But then that's when Mirako shows up, bunny girl Mirako, everybody's favorite bunny hero. Everybody's gonna start simping for her. I know the anime onlys. Eventually they're gonna start simping for Mirako. Anyways, she shows up and she essentially kind of distracts Dabi, and when Dabi sees this, he's like, oh shoot, I guess I'm outnumbered here, so I'm gonna get out of here. Now, he mentions, as he's escaped, he mentions the name Ujiko. I'm just gonna say keep that name in mind because it seems like, Dabi is working for somebody named Ujiko. Also, before he also leaves, he tells Endeavor not to die. But the catch is this, he doesn't call him Endeavor. He says Endeavor's full name, Enji Todoroki. Do not die. Which again, your speculations on who who Dabi could be, again, the whole fact of, well, it's interesting because even in this episode, they make a reference to Toya Todoroki, and we have Dabi just essentially saying like, well, don't die, Enji Todoroki, which is very interesting. So, obviously, further hitting home the fact for anime-only fans, of the My Hero community, believing in a way that Dabi could be the missing Todoroki boy. So, yeah. Now, after we get out of that scene, we actually cut over to the scene where we see Hawks and Dabi from what we saw last week meeting in this, I guess, warehouse, just talking. And we find out that this was all a planned event, to have the High-End Nomu show up. But the only problem was the planned area where it's supposed to be taking place was supposed to be essentially like this harbor, not the city and stuff like that. And Dabi is like, well, guess what? If Endeavor's the best you could come up with, because Dabi is essentially saying like, look, yeah, okay, I broke my promise, but you said it'd be some special super strong hero. And I saw Endeavor. He's not exactly what I would consider strong, but okay. It's an interesting conversation here and stuff like that. Now, Dabi, as he's leaving, he's like, look, you're not ready to meet the boss yet. So I'm guessing he's mostly referring to Shigarashi. So yeah, now we also see in this whole thing is that these government officials actually told Hawks to join the League of Villains. And essentially the reason why they want him to try to do that and try to infiltrate the League of Villains is they don't want to try to have another All for One event break out where they're not prepared to deal with I guess you'd say, a super villain, that most heroes can't deal with. And they also want to know, like, okay, when is their next move gonna hit? So we're prepared, we're able to, have our forces get ready, prepared, and then be able to mobilize them. And then guess what? The villains won't see it coming. Which I think is a pretty smart plan of theirs. Have a hero try to infiltrate the villains and stuff, and try to get into good ranks to be able, to find out what their plans could be. Definitely, this is a whole thing where I can understand why they made Hawks do it, because he kind of keeps to himself and stuff like that. So, and I feel like this is only going on between the government and Hawks, really. And it seems like no other heroes knows what Hawks is doing, which again kind of makes sense, because you don't want to have too many heroes, in on this, because then the villains could be like, what the hell is going on here? Why are these heroes meeting with these government officials? And then that's, when the villains could put two and two together. So indirectly here, they kind of somewhat confirm that Hawks really isn't a traitor. He's essentially a double agent. Essentially, he's essentially a spy. So I'm guessing the people who thought Hawks would be a traitor, I'm guessing you can calm down. But at the same time, I can still get that same thing of saying, well, who knows what could happen? You might actually turn on them. So we're just gonna see where it goes. Now we do get a screenshot of Hawks. A little bit of Hawks' backstory, and essentially we find out that Hawks has been a hero, or been enlisted as a hero ever since the government found him at a young age, and he was holding an Endeavor plushie, which is pretty interesting at that point too. And essentially the government said, because Hawks saved these people, they went to Hawks' location where he was at, and essentially they said, like, we'll train you to be a hero, and guess what? We'll support your family and stuff like that. Until we see around in the screenshot that it looks like Hawks, came from a very poor background and stuff like that. I will say this because I have read the manga. This is not the full backstory of Hawks. Funny enough, they recently, a few chapters ago, actually revealed the full out backstory of Hawks. This is kind of like a little tidbit. It's like 5%/10% of Hawks' true backstory. So for anime only, you're gonna get his full backstory later on, his upbringing and stuff like that. So yeah, you get a little bit of portion of the backstory. Now, after Endeavor leaves, the town, Hawks is after, being discharged from the hospital, he goes back home, and we see that Shoto thanks to Aizawa, was brought to their place. And essentially we see Endeavor's children, his 3 children, even though he has 4, well, he had 4, but now he's got 3. Now, Endeavor, like I said, comes home to his daughter Fuyumi, Todoroki, obviously Shoto Todoroki, and then Natsuo. I keep calling him Natsu every time I do my manga chapter reviews and he shows up. I keep forgetting it's Natsuo, but the siblings, Fuyumi and Shoto, call him Natsu for short. But anyways, yeah, they're all eating dinner as they were all waiting him home, and it looked like, Fuyumi set this all up just for them to eat as a family, essentially. But things kind of break down because Natsuo can't take being around his dad. And again, he kind of just lashes out at his dad, and he's like, why the hell? He gets up, he's like, look, I can't do this. I can't. I'm sorry. And essentially starts lashing out at Endeavor. He's like, I don't give a damn what you did today. Yeah, okay, you saved the world. You came back home. Great, fine. I could care less. What you did in the past by neglecting us and doing what you did to Shoto, what you did to Mom, the whole fiasco with Todoroki, I'm not gonna ever forgive you for that. And I think he even calls him a bastard too. The subs made him sound like he called him a bastard. But essentially, Natsuo, I will say in the grand scheme of things, he definitely does not like his father at all. He does not like Endeavor at all. And again, I'm just gonna say this. Listen, he's rightfully justified in feeling that type of way. You know, you have your own flesh and blood, your father essentially not give a damn about you guys, you know, kind of indirectly abuse your mom through just the actions did, and then, you know, forced your little brother to do all this stuff. And guess what? You never got focused. And then two, you know, your older brother, the oldest of the family, is apparently dead now, you know? So, yeah, I don't blame Natsuo for feeling the way he does, you know? And we see later in the scene, like, even Shoto has the same ill will feelings, because we know that's been Shoto's MO from the start of the series, you know? But the thing is with Shoto, he says, look, you know, Endeavor was awesome today, but I totally agree with what Natsuo says. You know, you did all those things, and that's something I can potentially never forgive you for. But, and I mean, but, Shoto says, but there's always a small, you know, thing that can change a person. So essentially, Todoroki here is essentially giving, no, I wouldn't say giving his dad the benefit of the doubt. He's a little bit more open to, I guess you can say, fully committing to forgiving his dad for his past transgressions and willing to accept him as his father, which is very interesting from the Shoto Todoroki we saw early on in this series, where he wanted nothing to do with his dad. You know, like we saw at the end of season 4, his reaction to the whole event. You know, even though he doesn't like his dad, at the end of the day, if he's watching his dad on TV against a freaking high-powered villain, he doesn't want to see his dad die and not come home to him. You know, at least he wants to sleep at least peacefully, knowing that, guess what, my dad went out there, saved people, and he came back alive. He didn't die. I may not like him, but at least I can worry about, you know, his freaking health and safety. So yeah, it's a really interesting scene. Again, this starts the whole. This is, I said it in my last season review in episode 24. I said this is going to be the start of the Endeavor, you know, I get the Endeavor redemption arc. Now some people in the My Hero Academia community, whether if you're an anime only, you may never ever forgive Endeavor for what he did, and that's fine. You know, I will just say this: do not take it out on the people who, when the time comes when he gets his full redemption, and people will start to respect him and stuff like that, or people say Endeavor's their favorite character. For people who hate Endeavor, please do not, you know, hate on these people. Like, it's no thing. I honestly, as much as I love My Hero Academia, the community, I think is honestly, when it comes to how overdramatic it is, it's actual facts. So yeah. Now we get the scene, what we get from the last bit of season 4, and it's kind of been more expanded on here. And essentially we get a dream sequence. Well, it's not a dream sequence, it's just Deku essentially seeing the past here. We start off the dream sequence essentially the same way how season 4 ended, where Deku wakes up into this mysterious world, and he looks over to his right and he sees the past users of One for All. We see obviously Nana Shimura. We see, I guess, a yellow flaming symbol of All Might, which more than likely, I'm guessing, is he doesn't have his full silhouette because he's still alive. Then we see, obviously, the other previous users of One for All. We see a guy in kind of like a straight jacket and he's bald. A guy that looks like a shorter type of, I guess you can say, what's his name? I'm trying to think of his head. Best Genus, that's what he is. He looks like he's wearing the same thing, and then we see a pretty tall guy with a scar on his face. Now, as for the other two Deku sees, their silhouettes are still shaded out. And, they don't show what they look like. Their silhouettes is, and we don't know who they are. Hell, if I'm being honest, in the manga where I'm currently at, I still do not know what those two silhouette characters are. Well, I've seen what their designs look like. They have shown what their designs look like, not in the silhouette form. But I do not know who they are. And for reasons, I'm gonna keep that to myself. So yeah. But anyways, we see Deku look on, and we see essentially, as they're playing the almighty All For One music, we see a much younger version of All For One and his younger brother, which is aka the first user of One For All, essentially talking and stuff like that. Now, the first user essentially is going on telling his brother, All For One, like, yo, the world's in chaos. We can't, and you're doing all this stuff because you're trying to gratify yourself. And essentially, All For One brings out these two individuals. One guy who, is trying to take care of his mom and his dad and stuff like that, but you have people calling him ugly and stuff like that. And we got to think about this. This is in the time period where quirks started to become a thing. Like, there was a select few of people who started to gain the abilities of quirks and stuff like this. Like, this is ancient history, because we can't forget, All For One is like damn near over like 100 years of age. Like, this dude has lived over like countless decades thanks to his regeneration quirk and stuff like that. So he brings up this one ugly looking dude. He's got like something like that, and again, this person calls him ugly and stuff like that. Then he brings up just a completely normal dude, and essentially All For One's like, yeah, this guy, he essentially got beat up by people with abnormal powers and stuff like that. Again, at this time period, quirks were totally new to society at this time. So obviously they didn't call them quirks, they just called them unnatural abilities and stuff like that. And what he does is essentially he switches the power, which he takes the power of the guy who has the quirk and puts it with the guy who doesn't have a quirk. And essentially, the guy who used to have a quirk looks like a regular everyday person, and he looks nicer. The other guy, he looks like he's ready to, start fights and get back at the people who, were messing with him and stuff like that. And it's crazy because the first user is like, listen, you're just using these guys as pawns. You're using them as your lackeys. And essentially, All For One's like, no, I'm not. I'm doing this for the grand scheme of society, my brother. And I'm like, this guy is this guy's fucking crazy. This guy's crazy. I'm like, this dude literally thinks he's doing good. He literally thinks he's doing good things. And he's literally setting up himself an evil empire over here. And stuff like that. So it's insane and everything. Now his brother tries to stop him, but this guy takes him down. The first user is put into jail, essentially. Well, not into jail, but I guess a little lockup. You have All For One, showing up and stuff like that. And, he's essentially talking more like, listen, these factions who rebelled against me tried to fight me, but guess what? I just killed them all. Because obviously, who can touch All For One, So that was the whole thing. And this is the time, like, you can say this was the peak point of his era, when he literally had complete dominance rule over it. And essentially the brother's like, listen, you don't understand what's going on. You haven't fully read what like a comic book is like, which again is freaking interesting. He's like, you see, it always gets to the point, and I found it funny how he compared his brother to this comic book. He's like, you see, you only read up to volume 3, where the Demon Lord has complete rule over, and he's just taken over. You can read past it, and what happens usually past it is that the Demon Lord character, which essentially is the bad guy, the antagonist, is always beat by the shining hero, the hero, and stuff like that. And All For One's like, yeah, but that's not the case, is it now, huh, little brother? So then that's when we see All for One put his hand on the first user of One for All, and there you go. That's how the first user, the little brother, gets One for All. He gets it passed down from, obviously, All for One. I don't remember because I haven't watched the past seasons of My Hero in quite a while, so I don't remember if they already said that All for One gave the quirk One for All to his little brother. If I'm wrong about that and they already said that story point earlier, well then put that in the comment section so I know and stuff like that. But yes, he gives him the power quirk, and ever since then it's been getting passed down. So after him getting the quirk, the whole scene ends and Deku's in like a white landscape, and lo and behold, he sees the first user walking to him, essentially saying, "Oh, you can only use 20% of One for All, huh? Well, look, be careful, man. But listen, it's gonna be okay. You're not alone." And that's when Deku wakes up from the dream sequence of seeing the past, and essentially that's where you cue in what you saw at the end of season 4, where the window's broken and he's looking at his hand lit up with One for All around it and stuff like that. So that's where the episode ends off. Again, diving a little bit into the past, this episode was good. I wish this episode was the premiere episode, like I've always said the last. Good God. I really do wish My Hero Academia just start their seasons off with story-based episodes instead of fillers. And hopefully in season 6, they stop doing that. Like, please. Anyways, I thought it was a good episode. I very much enjoyed it. Seeing the past of Deku, seeing the past of the origin story of All for One and One for All is essentially pretty symbolic and crazy. So yeah, and 2, it's interesting that essentially the first user of One for All is talking to Deku. Also, to hit home the fact is Deku in this state, he can only move his right arm. He can't talk, he can't move, he can't even feel his feet. Like, he can't do nothing really. He can only move his right arm and stuff like that. So definitely interesting to see where this is going. Again, I'm just gonna say this half of the season is going to dive a little bit into the One for All quirk and what it really does. So for anime onlys, look forward to that. So yeah, good episode. Very much enjoyed it. Next week, it seems like we're gonna get to literally the point. I thought it would take another episode till we get to this point, but we're getting to the point where, if you didn't see the next episode preview, I'm sorry for spoiling it. So click out the video now. Next episode, we're gonna get, or we're probably gonna get the setup to getting to the Class 1A versus Class 1B battles. Deku's obviously gonna talk to All Might about what he saw, and then it seems like it's gonna be the setup, which I figure the episode. One half of the episode is going to talk about Deku talking to All Might about what he saw, and then the other half, before we start the battles, is just going to be the setup that the teacher's like, okay, it's going to be Class 1A versus Class 1B as we get introduced to more Class 1B characters. And I'm guessing the week later after that episode, we're going to start getting the matches. So definitely, actually moving pretty fast paced if you honestly ask me. Like I thought we would start like the battles by episode 6, to be honest. But shit, we're getting right into this thing, and hey, fine by me, I'll take it. But if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on what you saw in this episode. Do you think Hawks could still potentially be a traitor, or do you think you're now cool, calm, and collected and you're fine with it? What are your thoughts on the Endeavor family drama going on? What are your thoughts on the Dobby situation there? What do you think about his mentioning of Enji Todoroki? Who's this Ujiko character we hear about? Also, what are your thoughts on the scene with Deku seeing the past, and stuff like that? And what do you think is going to happen to him when it comes to One for All going forward? But other than that, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your day or night. I'm just going to have this video. Until then, guys, stay safe and have a great Easter. Till then, guys, I'll see you guys later. Peace.